Do you remember how you got into K-pop? For me, I got into K-pop when I was 11 years old, sitting in front of the TV, and then Whistle by Blackpink started playing. I remember being completely enamored by the music video, the choreography, the fashion, the colors, and I remember sitting there thinking, what is this? And how do I make my entire personality about it? 2 years later, I got my first phone, and that's when my baby Blink era officially began. I was watching music video after music video, learning choreography after choreography. Some of them I even performed as school for school projects. And I feel like my real K-pop era officially hit when I became a baby ARMY. It really feels like a void that you get sucked into, and once you realize what's going on, you're already an adult with a job and bills to pay. Other than anime, K-pop was another hyperfixation that I couldn't quite escape. It was like a rabbit hole. I have been a ARMY and Blink for about 6 to 7 years now. Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to be relatable. I've been in the K-pop space from when it was considered cringy to watching it shift into the mainstream in real time. And over the years, the more I grow up, the more I realize that the K-pop space isn't this fun, eccentric, colorful space where you could just have fun. It is in fact much darker. And I realized that over the years, K-pop isn't as fun as it used to be before, and I started to wonder why. Back when BTS left for their enlistment, I was absolutely devastated. I was thinking to myself, how am I gonna survive 2 years without this group? And then when they did enlist, I was still in the K-pop space, but this was a really bad time because there was so much controversy going on in the K-pop space during this time, and the K-pop space just went in a downward spiral. It was flop after flop, scandal after scandal, to the point where when BTS did come back, I was happy, but not as happy as I should have been because I was just so sick and tired of everything that was going on in the K-pop space. And by then, I have already decided that I was gonna distance myself from this space completely. Hi, hello, lovely people, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the world of K-pop and why it isn't this fun space that it used to be, and some of the reasons on why I chose to distance myself from this space. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. One of the things that makes the K-pop industry unenjoyable is the fact that there are so many groups being mass-produced. Every second, there's a new group popping out and debuting. You don't even have time to fully form a connection with the group that debuted last year. Each month, there's about 8 to 10 girl or boy groups debuting with a new look, sound, and concept, and even younger than the group that debuted before. The time I joined the K-pop space, it was during the Blinks versus ARMY era. So we were in 3rd gen K-pop groups like BTS, Blackpink, Red Velvet, Twice. I know EXO 2nd gen, but they were still popular at that time, and Stray Kids was still considered new gen back then. But there was enough time to differentiate which group was which and connect your identity to one of these groups. In the past 5 years, I feel like all that K-pop companies do is debut new K-pop groups, give them a deadline to be hit, and if they don't hit that deadline and start flopping, then they disband the group and the cycle starts over. For example, in HYBE, when New Jeans disbanded, Islet came onto the scene, and by that time they were doing pretty well. I know 2 songs of theirs, which was Magnetic and Tik Tok, but before I could even form a connection to this group, Cat's Eye debuted, and then Cat's Eye exploded and went global and viral. And then before, again, we could have a solid, strong fan base, Manon was on hiatus and there was that whole mess with the group. And then before I could even form a connection with them, Chorus debuted. And it's like these K-pop companies are just shoving these groups down our throats. And the problem with this is the more they do this, the less and less we care about each group that debuts every time. What made K-pop so interesting and fun was the connection that it had to its fan base. Your bias wasn't just someone that you liked because they were attractive or they were talented. That was part of the reason, but your bias was someone that you could wholeheartedly relate to and establish your entire personality to. Basically kinning, but in K-pop terms. It is no longer exciting, and people aren't curious about these groups because there is a higher chance of them disbanding after only a year of making songs. And these companies aren't actually taking the time to invest in these groups. They're just trying to achieve global success at a short time. They're trying to chase the next BTS, but they forget that it took BTS almost 6 to 9 years for them to achieve the level of fame that they have. And even if they gave all of these K-pop groups all the resources that they could possibly need, higher production music videos, new outfits, new stylists, catching up with the latest trends, it is like Yoongi said, there is no next BTS. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're one group competing out of 100 other groups trying to achieve the same thing as you. Before a group even has a chance to debut, they have to go through the trainee phase. It was created none other than the founding father, Lee Soo-man. Lee Soo-man, the founder of SM Entertainment, discovered while he was studying in America, American pop production and Japanese idol system, and decided that why not create a system where we make young people train 8 to 12 hours a week on singing, dancing, performing, and after months of evaluation, have the best of the best debut. And hence the K-pop training system was created, which almost every single K-pop company has adopted for nearly 3 decades now. There is a lot of work done before groups can even debut, and I can't imagine how grueling it must be to be that young and pushing yourself to the limit just for a chance to debut. And then when you do debut, you're competing against 100 or sometimes even thousands of other groups. And then after less than a year, you guys just disband. It is truly disheartening. And it feels almost cruel. Letting kids under the age of 15 train vigorously for 8 to 12 hours a week is absolutely insane. And as an adult, that is something that I even can't do. And I can't imagine the amount of pressure that must be on a kid. And then after you debut, it's like your whole life revolves around the company and your fans. You have no privacy. People control what you do or pick apart what you say, what you wear, and how you interact with other people. You're no longer a human being with emotions. You exist to make your fans happy and your company money. This kind of pressure for someone who hasn't even fully developed their frontal lobe yet, I'm not surprised by the amount of idols that have left, quit, or have unfortunately taken their own lives, because the amount of scrutiny that idols face is simply too much to bear. Another thing that doesn't make K-pop enjoyable anymore is literally learning about its origin. It is no secret that K-pop is derived from Black culture. Literally, almost every K-pop group or artist that you ask mentions a Black artist as their inspiration. Anyone with 2 eyes can see it if you just look at the early K-pop groups and how they debuted and what their preferred look was. I'm telling you, there's a higher chance of seeing your favorite 1st to 3rd gen K-pop idol in braids and locks than it is seeing a bunch of middle schoolers do the scuba dance in public. It is okay to take inspiration and work it into your own thing, but it starts being a problem when you start dismissing the culture that it came from and literally appropriate it. You would think that an industry that thrived off of Black culture, fashion, and likeness would treat Black people with respect and acknowledgement But no, instead they decide to make Black people feel excluded. I've talked about this briefly during my Cat's Eye Manon video about how Black girls are treated in the K-pop space. Again, the K-pop industry thrives off of Black culture, but they're not willing to share the stage with us. HYBE was so eager to put Manon on hiatus and paint her as the villain. Alexandra Reed, one of the first Black K-pop idols, was literally mistreated during her entire time when she debuted in Rania. I haven't heard anything about Fatu and Black Swan. It has been kind of quiet there, but she has also had her fair share of hardships being a Black K-pop idol in the space. Now I am going to address the elephant in the room, which is K-pop idols saying the N-word. Now, if I had to count the amount of times that K-pop idols have said it, we would be sitting here all day. The reason why this is a common occurrence, if you don't know, is because there is a word in Korean that sounds like the N-word, and that's most K-pop idols' excuse. Like they were like, oh no, I was just saying, you know, me or you in Korean. Like I wasn't saying the N-word. But if you really listen closely, you can tell. What makes matters worse is that it keeps happening and nobody apologizes for it. They kind of use the sweep under the rug mentality. I have seen K-pop idols being called out and apologizing for the dumbest things ever. But when it comes to saying a slur against a race, all of a sudden it's hush hush. And at this point, as a Black K-pop stan, the only thing you can do is laugh about it. I've literally been seeing edits on my timeline lately. You know that horrible AI song? It's like, I'm a phenomenal Black woman. Walk with finesse, move with grace. Yeah, that one, whatever. I've been seeing so many edits of K-pop idols to that song, but it's back when they were wearing like locks and braids, and they're like, yes, to our phenomenal Black women and men, we stand with them. And yes, I will admit, I do laugh at these jokes because it is funny, but it is still sad that we've had to resort to use humor in order to make this whole situation digestible for us, because we know that there's nothing that they're gonna do about it. When the 4B movement got announced, that's when my rose-tinted glasses started clearing up a bit. And I stopped seeing Korean men as like these mythical, divine, white knights. And I just started seeing them as men. Now, before anybody comes for me, I was a K-pop stan when I was a teenager. And if there's one thing everybody knows about teenagehood, is that you are dumb, okay? And as a teenager who was dumb, you do dumb things, okay? I was a victim, so please don't come for me. Maturing is realizing that Korean men are just men, but they just have better PR. When K-pop started shifting into the mainstream, K-dramas also started shifting into the mainstream. And they portrayed these men as the ideal men, the CEO who fell in love with the ordinary girl and who would do anything to get her love. They portrayed these men as like the white knights, as if saying that the men in your country are the problem. You need a Korean man in your life. But that is honestly far from the reality. The 4B movement is a feminist movement that originated in South Korea, in which women refuse to date, marry, have intercourse, or even have children with men. This movement started due to an incident that happened in 2016 where a girl got unalived because she rejected a man, and the man responded in anger by unaliving her, and so a year later the group was formed. But then it gained a larger traction in 2022 with the movement moving to other parts of the world, including Japan, China, and even starting in the US. The whole point of this movement is a form of protest until women are treated better in Korea. They don't want to be viewed just as these objects that have no emotion. They actually want to be treated like decent human beings. I can definitely say that this movement has made an impact, because a year later, after the movement went viral in 2023, South Korea officially declared having the lowest birth rate in the world. And the government is trying its best to encourage newlywed couples to have children, including giving baby bonuses and rewarding them in cash if they do have a child. And in all honesty, in my personal opinion, I feel like the government should be doing that anyways. Listen, I've never given birth, but the things that I hear from women who have, I feel like the government should be compensating every woman that has given birth. So during the time of this movement was also the time when that one Korean Christian couple was trending on TikTok. I think her name was Sarah Kim. And if you're not familiar with them, Sarah Kim at that time, she was pregnant, working 2 full-time jobs, making content, and taking care of her household, all while her husband, Andrew, was staying at home and playing video games. And obviously, you know, TikTok being TikTok, they ate that up. There was stitches after stitches, videos after videos, everyone putting their 2 cents in, because Sarah's the one providing for everything financially, putting in all the work while her husband is just sitting there and not doing anything. And then they also had a podcast episode together that also went viral, trying to justify why this is happening. But in all honesty, I feel like it just added fuel to the fire. And you could tell during the podcast episode that Sarah was just so done, sad, and depressed. And Andrew he had no look of remorse or guilt in his eyes. Like, he was just like, yep, I did that. I managed to achieve that. And Sarah was just sitting there defeated, having to explain their situation and the things that they had to go through throughout their marriage, which was honestly really sad to watch.
I'm a very light sleeper. And so around 1 a.m. came around, which is probably around the time I was going to sleep. I tried to go to bed and Andrew's still playing. I don't know when he started playing, probably like 10 p.m. or something. Sorry, it's like 3 hours in playing. And I was like, you know what? I'm a chill wife. I'm gonna let my man play. He just got back in our first week. I'm gonna let my man play. I'm trying to sleep. Screen's obviously like bright and blinking. Bad idea to put the computer inside our bedroom.
Yeah. Keyboard clacking.
Not keyboard, mouse clicking.
Mouse clicking.
And so I'm doing my best to sleep. And it's not just the noise and the light. It's kind of like my rage I didn't know that was growing inside of me. And so I figured around like 3 a.m. he might come to bed. But the rage grew as he just wouldn't stop. And I was like, now I'm like upset about not being able to sleep. I'm upset about my reality being shaken at the fact that I've married a gamer dude. I was like, oh, there's no reverse. I just married the guy. And so I go to the living room and I'm like trying to look for a place to sleep so I can at least sleep. I get woken up by Andrew and I don't know what time it is. I'm disoriented. He goes, my love, how long were you out here for? And I open my eyes and the sun is out. This man is 1, awake. 2, didn't know I was out here till the sun came out. Must have been 7 a.m.
It was probably like, 6 or 7.
I married this guy thinking, wow, he doesn't play video games. Green flag.
And then during this time was the same time that King of Tears had his controversy happen as well. I would rather not say his name, but in February of 2025, South Korean actress Kim Se-ron unalived herself because of him. It was later discovered that it was due to the fact that his agency was blackmailing her for money because they helped cover up a scandal that she was involved in 2022, I believe, involving drunk driving. So they kind of like gave her money and was like, here, you can cover it up. And then they were demanding money back. It later also came out that the actor was dating the actress ever since she was 15 years old, and that caused quite a stir. He faced a lot of legal clashes because of this, and a lot of memes surfaced from his press conference as well over all these alleged charges. And if that wasn't enough for you, what really hit the nail on the coffin for me was the Burning Sun scandal. Now, if you have been in the K-pop space long enough, I feel like you might have heard of it or might have came across it, but BBC made a documentary about this whole thing. I will link it in the bio if I remember to do that, but you can watch that after you watch this video. Thank you. But the main takeaway is that the Burning Sun scandal was a trafficking syndicate run by K-pop idols and many, and I mean many, K-pop celebrities. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty of it. Like I said, you can watch the documentary to get the whole full picture. But basically, the Burning Sun was disguised as this nightclub in Gangnam, if I remember correctly. And people would go in thinking that it was just an ordinary nightclub, just a time to have fun. Meanwhile, they were drugging people and raping them and filming them without their consent. And then they would take those videos and it would circulate in group chats, and they would just, it was a whole thing. It is disgusting and vile. And if you really don't like that, then don't watch the documentary. But if you're interested, again, you guys can go and check it out. But I just remember sitting there watching this documentary and being like, there is no way that these people are actually human, because it was absolutely like just evil and disgusting that the way that they were treating those women. And it was just like, that really gave the reality check on Korean men and why the 4B movement exists and why women are choosing to go this way. So that really validated everything. I feel like we're in a point of our lives where the political and economic state of the world reflects on everything. It is not just something that you can just ignore and be like, oh, I'm not into politics, or oh, this doesn't really affect me, so why should I care about it? When in fact it does. And listen, I'm not saying that you should be into the nitty-gritty of all the politics, but at least be aware of what's going on in the world right now, because it is affecting our daily lives. One of the many reasons as to why I'm not a huge K-pop fan as I used to be is seeing how these K-pop idols are responding to current events happening around the world. BTS is a core example of this. When BTS came back from the military, a lot of armies were hoping that they would shed light onto the genocide that has been happening in Palestine. Instead, they have said nothing and have allegedly been seen shutting down in comments, asking about whether to speak up about it, and were collabing with companies and Zionists that support you-know-who. And honestly, that left a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. BTS is all about speaking your truth and standing up for yourself. And, you know, they were seen raising awareness about many causes and supporting minorities. Now, I am not saying that they are a bunch of superheroes out there and that they should, you know, advocate for all the bad things that are happening in the world or whatsoever. Because first and foremost, they are entertainers. That is primarily their job. It's not their job to go out there and advocate for every single issue that is going on in the world. But I feel like as the biggest boy band in the world, to just take a few seconds out of your day to shed light and awareness about a situation that has been affecting people a lot, and just give a few words of solidarity to your fans who are literally scraping under the rubble to get a photo card of you and holding on to it as hope. Is that really a lot to ask? Similarly, during that time, we also had the disaster of the breast cancer awareness event, where K-pop idols were invited to speak up about breast cancer, but instead it got turned into the Korean Met Gala. W Korea held an event last year, can't believe it's been a year already, in October to raise awareness for breast cancer. Now, to be honest, the first time I saw the red carpet and the pictures of these events, I had no idea that this was a breast cancer event. I thought it was a fashion event held by GQ, with the way that the K-pop idols were like posting. They were all out here posting up like they were invited to a Jackson Wang party. Like people were posting about alcohol, they were posting with other celebrities, and in all honesty, the night really did focus more on them than of the breast cancer event, which is the main backlash of this whole thing. Not to mention the behavior of certain K-pop idols at the event also rubbed people the wrong way. J Park performed Mome, which as you know, result in him being in another controversy and forming yet another apology. Honestly, I'm not surprised because Jay Park always manages to find himself in the heart of every controversy. I have seen this man apologize for everything under the sun. There is no man that has offended as many groups, ethnicities, races, and religions as Jay Park has. So in all honesty, are we all surprised?
For some reason, I'm like very problematic or controversial. That sexy boy over there, I'm gonna rape him. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Yeah. But for me, like, I don't think it's warranted at all. I showed love to all different types of people. Like, I never try to make it about. I don't even see color. I think it's what makes us unique. Like a culture or ethnicity or religion. For some reason, I'm like very problematic or controversial.
I'm not even going to be surprised if he drops a masterclass on how to apologize, because I feel like a lot of influencers could benefit of that. As K-pop idols were getting bashed for focusing on partying instead of raising awareness, it was funny seeing the lengths that the stans went through to defend their favorites. I am telling you, nobody works harder than a K-pop stan when their favorite K-pop idol is under scrutiny. I am surprised that these K-pop companies don't even hire them for PR. But then again, they're doing the PR for free. It was just so funny because during this backlash, like certain stans would go and they would find their favorite K-pop idols like wear a slither of pink and would be like, see, he was wearing pink, so that means he was raising awareness for the event. And I think it's just one of the bittersweet things of being a K-pop stan, like just seeing the back and forth when a K-pop idol is being bashed, the lengths that the fans will go through to save face. All in all, the K-pop space has gone from this fun, eccentric, colorful, vibrant place to this problematic space. K-pop was supposed to be a refreshing side of a new world we haven't seen before, a change from Western media, but now they're slowly progressing into that stage, into Western media, and it is a bit disappointing, but I'm not surprised. When your whole industry didn't have a solid leg to stand on and thrived off appropriating another culture, it can only take you so far. These days, most artists, K-pop groups, aren't really making authentic music. The music that tells you a story. They're making music so that they can become a trend on TikTok. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This one was a little bit of a long one because I had a lot to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below what your favorite K-pop group is and what your favorite era was. For me, it was BTS during their Dark and Wild era. And as always, I will see you in the next one.